What's up, Lions Nation, and welcome to the Fourth and Whatever podcast, where our mission is to provide you with the most up-to-date news surrounding the Detroit Lions organization and keeping that roar in store in the Motor City and around the globe. I'm your host, Ryan, and if it's fourth down, you already know it's whatever.
Montgomery the back. Bouncing outside. Hit down the sideline. Goes Montgomery. He's going to go in for a Lions touchdown.
What's up, guys? So glad to have you back here with me for another episode of Fourth and Whatever. As I mentioned on the previous video, that I've got some exciting news to roll out as we're going to take a deep dive into this year's draft class at the cornerback position. Really the Achilles heel of this Detroit Lions defense that we desperately need to improve. This is a very deep class for this position. We are going to be taking a look at what I would consider to be the top 5 prospects. Some other big boards might have these shaped up a little bit differently, but for the most part, these top 5 that we're looking at today are really in everybody's top 5 across the board. So what I think is number one might be different than somebody else's number one, so on and so forth. So don't hold me to it, but this is just my personal opinion, my personal take on just the evaluation of this class. And also keeping in mind that with the combine starting here Monday, February 26th, we do have a tendency to see a lot of players move up and move down. Some do stay in the same spot, but we'll really get a better read on a lot of these players after they go through their evaluation, testing, and interviews with some of the coaching staff, ownership, general managers, things of that nature. So, again, a lot can change, but one thing that really has to be a focus for this team is getting better on the defensive side of the ball and being able to protect that secondary and shut down the big pass plays on opposing offenses. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive into the top 5 prospects for the Lions to potentially nab up in this year's draft. All right, so starting us off with our number 5 rated prospect is Kool-Aid McKinstry, the 6-foot, 185-pound All-American Alabama product is one of the best press man corners in this draft class. Though he can stand to pack on a few pounds, his frame, footwork, quickness, and fluid hips make him an ideal prospect for any team that likes to run press coverage. He has great technique and it shows in his ability to mirror receivers. He's extremely patient and trusts in his instincts that allows him to jump routes and make plays on the ball. He's a highly competitive athlete who likes playing physical, and that carries over to the ground game and shows in his willingness to tackle. These traits also show up in the backfield as he is also an effective blitzer and can open up corner blitz packages for defenses, adding another element to his already impressive resume. If the Lions can nab this high-caliber player, I can forecast a blue Kool-Aid drink special at Ford Field for years to come. There are a lot of positives to take away with Kool-Aid because McKinstry uses his fluid hips and speed to showcase his lateral agility with his smooth side-to-side quickness. He's very consistent in press man and competitive from start to finish, especially when the ball is thrown his way. He is not going to make it easy on any receivers or quarterbacks that he faces on Sunday. McKinstry excels in both man and zone coverages, and he welcomes tackling and tackles very well. He can make a play in both the air and on the ground. When we look at some of the things that Kool-Aid does have to improve on, some of the more physical receivers can size Kool-Aid up in and out of breaks. This could be more due to his slender weight. He will need to add on a few pounds, but nothing that hinders his overall speed. He also lacks initial burst that allows receivers to create separation off the line, which can be a little bit worrisome as he also needs a little bit of work in ball tracking down the field. Looking at Kool-Aid's 2023 stats and production, he was available for 14 games this year and came away with 24 solo tackles and 8 assists for a total of 32. He did also gain 2 tackles for a loss, and though he had no interceptions, He was very productive as he came away with 9 pass deflections. He only gave up 19 receptions on 39 targets for 205 yards, and quarterbacks only earned a 73.1 passer rating when targeting Kool-Aid. There's a whole lot of good with Kool-Aid and not a whole lot of bad, as you're going to see that kind of the common trend in the top 5 corners in this draft class coming up. If Kool-Aid's available at 29, I would not be surprised if Holmes went ahead and sent in the card with Kool-Aid's name on it. Very, very intriguing player to watch this week at the NFL Combine. We'll see if he rises, falls, or stays right around the same. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our next prospect on the board. And coming in at number 4 on our list is a little bit more controversial just because of where I have him ranked. A lot of teams do have him ranked higher from what I've seen, but I have Quinyon Mitchell, the intriguing MAC product out of Toledo, and he has a lot of teams' attention out there. The speedy back is rumored to run a 4.340 with a 6-foot, 200-pound frame. And regardless of position, regardless of school, that's enough to grab any GM's attention. Just one of the many reasons that this small school product has a high probability of going in the first round of this year's draft. Still a work in progress, Mitchell has tremendous upside and a high ceiling. A true ball hawk, Mitchell's twitch and explosiveness combined with his ideal frame should make him an immediate impact starter. He does have a lot of versatility with his willingness as a gunner on special teams. Truly unselfish player and should be a good fit with any of the teams out there in the NFL. Though he doesn't have much experience in press man coverage, with the right leadership and coaching, Mitchell should adapt pretty well to the NFL given his physical attributes. His ability to read routes and maintain coordination of his speedy large frame puts him right in the driver's seat of what he can accomplish at the next level. Having good instincts is just the icing on the cake for this kid. This kid's an absolute ball hawk. These surpluses of turnovers, they don't happen by accident. Mitchell uses his size, speed, and explosiveness to put him into successful situations on a consistent basis. There are a lot of positives to talk about with Quinyon Mitchell. He fully utilizes his size and speed to jump routes and undercut passes to create turnovers. He plays with a very high energy with great coordination, making his explosiveness look almost effortless. He does have the versatility to play off man, zone, and in the slot, in addition to special teams. He has really good instincts and processes quickly that allows him to make plays on the ball. He also has the physicality to play press coverage and disrupt routes. He does have a handful of things that he has to work on as he lacks experience in man coverage, and that shows in a lack of consistency. Again, he doesn't have the experience, so when you see him play, it's just more inconsistent than most of these corners that we're looking at. He also needs help working on form tackling. He tends to just latch to players but not wrap and follow through with the tackle. And the most obvious thing that this isn't something you can really work on, but he's just from a smaller school. He hasn't faced the most elite of receivers. However, you can only play the team in front of you, so I don't know if I really fully consider a knock, but I believe that when he has his opportunity, that Quinyon Mitchell will prove that he is more than just height. As we take a dive into Quinyon's 2023 stats and production, he did play in 13 games and in that time acquired 32 solo tackles, 9 assists for a total of 41. He did have 1 interception and 18 pass deflections. At that time, he did allow 27 receptions on 62 targets for just 290 yards, giving up a passer rating to opposing quarterbacks of 51.1 when targeted. So as you can see why I said it might be a little controversial to some, why I had him rated at number 4 and not number 1 or 2 or even 3. But only time will tell as we see a little bit more of what he has to offer at this combine. I'm really excited to see how he, just compares to some of these other big school guys. So, but not to say that he can't be like another Antonio Brown out there. It's not. He won't be the first, and he certainly won't be the last. I do project him being a day one starter in the NFL and it being a long-time productive corner at the highest level. And number 3 on our list is another Alabama product in Terrion Arnold. At 6 foot, 196 pounds, Terrion Arnold is a slightly above average sized defensive back, providing the ideal height and frame for the cornerback position at the NFL level. Arnold also displays versatility after transitioning from safety to corner while with the Alabama Crimson Tide. His size, speed, and football IQ create for a very physical yet smooth play style. It's no surprise, being a product of Nick Saban, that Arnold has developed the ability to adapt to more complex defensive schemes that will help him with his transition to the NFL. Having great instincts to complement his IQ makes him dangerous in the run game. Arnold isn't afraid to get physical, to wrap up and make a tackle. Arnold has all the physical traits to be a shutdown corner with good length, exceptional top end speed. Few receivers will get behind this kid. And you top it all off with a solid frame and good footwork to match his speed and man coverage. And there's no question that Arnold should be a day one starter and have a long lasting NFL career. So obviously there are a lot of positives to take away with Terrion Arnold's game and play. His top end speed allows him to run easily with opposing receivers and has good recovery speed too should a receiver make a move on him. He has very fluid hips and great twitch that allows him to play with explosiveness. He's good at mirroring routes, which provides for quick reaction in his play. He excels in zone coverage. His IQ and adaptability allow him to play at a high level and limit any hesitation and make quick decisions. He isn't afraid to play physical and make tackles. Now, Terrion does have room for improvement when it comes to playing man coverage, as he does play at an average level. He also struggles tackling in space and can use some work on form tackling, as he has a tendency to stop his feet and drive before tackling. Though he's praised for his high efforts, it can also be hindersome at times, as he does have a tendency to hop into breaks, slowing his change in direction. If we take a look at his 2023 stats and productivity, we see that he did play 14 games and in that time acquired 40 solo tackles, 23 assists for a total of 63. He did come away with 6.5 tackles for a loss, 5 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, and 12 pass deflections, in addition to 1 sack. He did give up 41 receptions on 79 targets for 441 yards, and quarterbacks earned a 50.7 passer rating when targeting Terrion Arnold. And coming in as our number 2 prospect in this year's draft for the cornerback position is Nate Wiggins. The lengthy 6'2", 185-pound corner has a slightly slender weight, but the frame to be able to pack on a few more pounds. His long arms do come in handy when playing press coverage and making a play on the ball, and can use his hands also to disrupt routes. His hip fluidity helps with his lateral speed and quickness to stay with receivers off the line, and being a very instinctive back helps with decision making to not bog down his speed. The Clemson product also utilizes his vision very well when playing zone while tracking the quarterback's eyes to help him jump routes. Wiggins' appetite to make a play on the ball while playing smart makes him one of the better prospects in this draft. A 2-year starter for Clemson, Wiggins is a long, rangy, versatile cornerback who can play both man and zone coverages, in addition to press and off coverages. His speed allows him to stick with receivers downfield and has great recovery speed. His run game isn't bad, but it's also not great. He has the ability to make plays on the run game, but he does appear to be more than willing to allow other teammates to make the tackle. There is a lot of good when it comes to looking at Nate Wiggins. as he is a true athlete with length, speed, and quickness to match a good back pedal with transition for coverage on deeper routes. He absorbs comeback routes and has the ability to take them away. He doesn't fall for double moves due to his awareness, which also allows him to excel in zone coverage. He also has impacts on special teams with the experience in punt returning and field goal blocking units. His overall talent matches his extreme competitiveness, which is going to help him transcend in the NFL. And like every player, he's going to have some things to work on as well, especially given the fact that he is a bit more penalty prone and he is also a little lean for his height. But again, he does have the frame to be able to add on some pounds. At times, he can struggle with the anticipation, causing him to play a little bit softer in zone coverages, but his tackling and run defense, those also need to improve if he wants to have a true impact and be out on the field consistently. I don't believe that this is really due to a lack of skill, but he's just simply underdeveloped and has a lack of drive in some of these grittier situations. We review Nate Wiggins' 2023 stats and production. He did play 10 games in 2023, and at that time he acquired 22 solo tackles, 6 assists for a total of 28. He did have 2 interceptions on the season, one of them coming from first-round prospect Drake May. Also had 2 forced fumbles and 6 pass deflections, in addition to 1 sack. He only allowed 18 receptions on 41 targets for 176 yards, so extremely productive. And the passer rating that quarterbacks earned when facing Wiggins was a measly 44.4. And no drum roll necessary, but we have finally reached our number 1 cornerback draft prospect for this year's draft. We have Cooper DeJean, the 6'1", 203-pound corner out of Iowa. He is by far the most well-rounded corner in this year's draft, where he has considerable size and speed. He certainly isn't lacking in instincts. Watching him on game day, he seems to sniff out plays before they even happen, generally putting him one step ahead of opposing offenses. Because he can play really sticky coverage, receivers often aren't able to get separation, and his ability to recognize routes in addition to ball tracking, Cooper poses a major threat to opposing quarterbacks. Should a receiver make a play on the ball, beware. This kid loves to tackle and can tackle very well, which also complements the ground game and ability to slow down rushing offenses. He's a true Swiss Army knife, and Cooper can cover a lot of ground. With his size and speed, he's able to line up one-on-one with bigger receivers as well as covering the slot and jam up receiving tight ends. There is a lot of positives to look at when it comes to Cooper's game. He's very instinctive and a ball hawk with great hands. He's a true playmaker. He's great in man coverage, zone coverage, and has the size to jam up some of these bigger receivers. He does also cover very well on deep threats and faster receivers. Does great in run defense and open field tackling. Again, just extremely versatile, so well-rounded. He's even great on special teams. Any Iowa fans out there can contest to this, and he will be a day 1 starter without a doubt as we look ahead to the 2024 season. When you look at some of the things that he has to work on, you really have to kind of nitpick here, and I had a hard time and trying to do some research on this. There's not a whole lot to find other than really at times, and not constantly, but at times he can lack some twitch or explosion outside to react quickly to some of the shiftier receivers. But I mean, if that's the one thing that he has to work on, it's definitely something that over time he can get better, as long as he doesn't regress where he's already very effective in so many other aspects of his game. And this isn't all talk either. It obviously is shown in his 2023 stats and production. He did play 10 games, and in that time acquired 26 solo tackles and also 15 assists with a total of 35 tackles. Came away with 2 interceptions and 5 pass deflections. He only allowed 194 yards on 20 receptions on 46 targets. And 0 touchdowns allowed. I'm going to say it again, 0 touchdowns allowed. Passer rating that quarterbacks earned when facing Cooper was 37.8. So he's made it a long afternoon on Saturdays for quarterbacks that he's faced, and it should carry over very well to the NFL level as long as he's put into the right system. I see nothing but tremendous amounts of success for this kid. As PFF grades, also another one just extraordinary to look at and see. The only element of his game is his man coverage rating that is average. Everything else, he's playing at an above average level. Man coverage rating at 63.7. Zone coverage rating 73.1. Run defense grade 78.6. His overall coverage grade 76.8. Overall grade 77.4, as he only allowed a completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks at 43.5%. I would absolutely love to have this guy on the Lions roster. Will it happen? Most likely not, but he will be a lot of fun to watch for years to come here at the NFL level. All right, guys, so that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for our top 5 cornerback prospects in this year's draft class. Also, keep in mind, just because the Lions may not nab any of these players doesn't mean that there isn't really good depth and other guys that can come in and help this Lions defense out. Obviously, we didn't talk about guys like Kamari Lassiter or TJ Tampa or Mikey Sanders still. Again, there are a lot of good talent out there. And so it'll be interesting to see how things unfold after the NFL Combine that's going to take place this week in Indianapolis. Next week, we are going to go ahead and take a dive at the defensive end position, another group that's going to need a little bit more help and a little bit more depth. Lions had a lot of pressures last year, unfortunately. We just weren't getting home and turning those into sacks. We desperately need somebody opposite of Aiden Hutchinson to help out with that, and hopefully that will also help out with the production at the back end of the defense in the secondary. So if you like the video, please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Always happy to hear back from fans. Until next week when we talk again on the defensive end position, I'm your host Ryan, here to remind you that if it's fourth down, it's whatever.